Hello, hello, hello. This is Adolf, and I'm by myself, and this is just a quick introduction. So, we will be reposting all of our podcast interviews, and I just thought it would be a good idea to do this. You never know when people have started following the website or the podcast feed. Maybe they missed out on this podcast because it was a year ago, or 2 years ago, or whatever. That way, I release them all the same time, same day. It's easy to find them on your feed, and everything's here. Now, these podcasts aren't just reruns, they're redux reruns. And what I mean by that is I give a little intro to them, add some information here and there, and I try to fix the audio, clean it up, tighten things. So they're not exactly the same as the previous versions. They're just maybe a little bit better. Some things may have changed since the recording and uploading, so I try to keep things fresh for you and try to make things audio-wise better. Obviously, when I first started this interview process, I did things over the phone, and the phone quality is not as good as digital quality. So I've tried my best to make the quality as great as I can. So that's just a quick introduction. I hope you enjoy all these Redux rerun podcast interviews that I've done over the years for 3D or 2D. I don't have any plans for any future ones, but that may change just as things go with this coronavirus and COVID-19. If I don't have many movies to talk about, well, we'll find content to give to you, even if it's old content repackaged and cleaned up, remastered. By the way, this is a podcast exclusive thing. The podcast interview Extravaganza is just going to be on there. It's not going to be on YouTube or Pinterest or Instagram, partially because of limitations. Instagram only gives me 10 minutes and same about 15 minutes on Pinterest. But on YouTube, I could repost things, but it's just easier to just put it on the podcast feed, because on YouTube, you could just find our playlist of interviews. These interviews won't be the Redux editions, but it'll still be the interviews. That's really easy to find. On the podcast feed itself, that's a whole different ballgame. Sometimes, depending what podcast aggregator you're using, you could go back 100 podcasts or 200 podcasts or 1 year or 2 year or whatever. And some people may have missed these podcasts because they're older. All these podcasts are now available on YouTube. Not the Redux versions again, but it's just easier to have them all one place, released on one day, than it is to have everything released over months and years. So that's why it's going to be a podcast feed thing only, not a YouTube thing. If you haven't already, please just subscribe to our podcast. We're all over the place. You can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, used to be called iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, PlayerFM, Overcast, iHeart Radio, Spotify, and more. Those are the ones we primarily have accounts with. There's a lot of podcast aggregators, and these aggregators will get other podcasts if they're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever. So we're probably all over the place on the internet. Just look for 3D or 2D. No space in between them. And you can just download them onto your phone or tablet or iPad or whatever, and just listen to them. If you're there, while you're there, please give us a rating, a star rating, review. That would be very helpful. So yeah, sorry it's not going to be on YouTube, but it's just easier not to post all these videos. It's easier to do it this way. Sorry, but it is what it is. Hope you find us out on your podcast feed and download it, and be subscribed to us on the podcast feed. We'll try to do more interviews in the near future when we can, but we'll see what we can do. All right. So that's it for me. I hope you enjoy all of these Redux rerun podcast interviews. that I did over the years. Thank you for listening. Bye.